Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing this monochromatic summer night tumbler. As always, I'll make sure to put everything I use today into the description box below so that way you guys can shop those items if you would like to. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let's wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. So the tumbler that I'm using today is called a 30-ounce grippy tumbler, and you can purchase these at the Stanley Dupe company. Now this is their variation of those Stanley Dupes. It's a little bit different than the Stanleys, but it still has like the same concept, which I'll show you guys here. So as you see, it is powder coated, which I'm going to use to my advantage here. And it also comes with the little silicone thing to put on the bottom. You can save that for your customers or for yourself if you'd rather that than glittering the bottom. It also has instructions with how to take the handles off so that way you can fully coat it in glitter or however you want to dress these up. But if you notice the handle, it doesn't all the way attach to the side of the tumbler there, just the top portion attaches. So I really like the fact that it did come with instructions on how to remove the handle. So that was nice. And that's what I'm showing you here. The lid itself is a screw top lid. It also has this silicone piece to go over the mouthpiece there. And I'm just showing you here how you can push that out so that we can properly wash it after uses. And this is what it looks like. So it's silicone all the way through and you push it down into the mouthpiece there. And then you just swivel it out of the way to use it. It also comes with a stainless steel straw. There we go, with the little silicone mouthpiece. And this is the Stanley Dupe's version of that quote unquote Stanley Dupe. So let's go ahead and take this handle off. You are going to need some tools for this. You are going to need a flathead screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver. And the flathead screwdriver needs to be a little bit smaller than usual, so not too big of a one. I don't know if like there's variations. I don't know. All I know is you need a small one. There's a little hole in the bottom of that handle, and you're just going to stick that flathead screwdriver up into it. And you can see that it popped up the center portion of the handle, so that way you can go ahead and pry that back in order to get to the screw that attaches to the tumbler base. And when doing this, you just want to be as careful as you possibly can be, because in order for that center portion of the handle to stay connected, there's these little plastic tabs on the inside. So you just want to very gently rock it until it pops off, just like that. And then you're going to go ahead and slide that out of there. And there's our screw to be able to detach the handle. Now you're just going to take that Phillips head screwdriver and you're going to go ahead and loosen that screw up there until the handle can be removed. And once removed, we can go ahead and start decorating. But before I start decorating, I'm going to go ahead and put all my stuff away. I left the screw right in the handle, and I'm going to go ahead and push this back down on top of the handle so I don't lose the screw or anything like that, because I, don't want to do that. And I'm going to put everything back into the box that it all came in. So I put the lid, the handle, all that right back into that box so that way I can easily find everything I need. Now, before I start sanding my tumbler, I'm going to go ahead and tape off this top rim, and I'm also going to tape off the bottom as well, and I'm just going to use electrical tape to do this. So for the top rim, I'm just going to tape off the exposed stainless. And because I do plan on doing filling the center of the bottom with glitter, or what do they call it, a glitter bottom. I'm going to do a glitter bottom on this. I'm going to go ahead and tape off a little bit of a edge on the bottom here, so that way I don't get epoxy or anything down there. Now, if you do plan on just completely coating it, then you don't need to do this portion. Or even if you want to use the rubber stopper for the bottom, you can do this as well, so that way you can still easily get your rubber stopper down inside of this dent on the bottom. So now that everything is all taped off, we can come through, and I'm just using a 220 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to give that a light sanding until see how it's matte looking compared to the other portion. You just want it to turn that kind of matte color. You just want to take off the shine from it, so that way our epoxy sticks easily to it. And you just want to be careful up around your tape lines. The reason why we taped it off is so that way the areas that are taped off don't get scuffed up in this process, because we want those to not be scuffed up because they won't be coated in epoxy and all that stuff. All right, once you scuffed that shine off, then you're going to go ahead and come through, and I just spritz it down with rubbing alcohol and wipe it down with a paper towel to remove all the debris off of the tumbler. Now let's go ahead and get our first coating of epoxy over top. I have about 10 to 15 milliliters of epoxy in my cup there. I'm going to go ahead and add a glitter additive here. This is SOC Sparkle Dust and Silver, and you can find the glitters that I used today at socglitters.com if you would like to. Just a little bit goes a long ways. I'm also going to add a dash of Alfresco, which is the same kind of glitter additive. It's just microfine glitter, so that it kind of looks like stars on the black surface after we get it all mixed in. So I'm going to do 2 little scoops of this Alfresco. So I'm going to go ahead and get that stirred up really, really well. Then we will go ahead and apply it straight to our tumbler. Now, when I'm working with these additives that are in my epoxy, I like to try to keep them all in one straight line up and down, so that way it kind of keeps the glitter more concentrated. I find that if I kind of smudge it all over the place, it runs the chance of it kind of getting blotchy in places, if you guys know what I mean. If you've ever had that happen where it looks like there's not a lot of glitter in one particular area, try keeping it in one area as you're glittering, so that way it's a little bit more concentrated, so not spreading it too far out from wherever you originally laid down your epoxy. And when I get up and around this area here where the handle attaches back to the tumbler, I'm just going to very carefully take my finger and just place that epoxy right around it. I'm not too worried about it. I even got some epoxy up in the hole, and I was able to just kind of scrape it out a bit. It really didn't affect it. So you just want to carefully just go up and around it. That's all you want to do with that portion. Now, after I got it onto my turner, I did use a fast setting epoxy here, and I'm going to go ahead and remove my tape right away. If you're not using a fast setting epoxy, you want to let it sit for at least 45 minutes. Okay, that's what I did for my final layer. I used a non-fast setting epoxy for my final layer. I let it rotate for a good 45 minutes before I removed it. So let it cure, and then we're going to go ahead and move on to doing up our decals. So this decal is super easy. I know it looks a little bit difficult, but I know you guys got this. The first thing we're going to go ahead and do is come in here and type up the word summer. But whenever you go to do, so SUM and then MER, you're going to go ahead and press enter to make it go down underneath, because that's how we want it to look. Then we are going to go ahead and change the font to a college font. So I'm just going to go in there and change that really quick. And to get them more smushed together, I'm just going to ungroup them. Then I'm going to take and highlight the top and the bottom and get those attached together. And once those are attached together, then we can easily move those separated pieces around without accidentally just moving one letter. You know what I mean? So that's why we did that. Now, I swear the last half of the word summer looked smaller than the top portion, so I just went ahead and kind of made that a little bit bigger so it looked more visually appealing to me. After I got that adjusted, I went ahead and highlighted it all and welded it all together to make it one word. Now we are going to go ahead and come up to the top, and we're going to apply an offset. The offset ended up being 0.056. Now we are going to go ahead and highlight everything all together, and we're going to come down to the bottom, and right in the combine section we're going to subtract, and that's going to give us our outlining for the inside of our quote. Now, making sure our quote is still highlighted, we're going to apply another offset around this offset. Now, again, you want to make sure that you highlight everything all together, so that way whenever you go to do things, it all forms in one piece, one solid piece, rather than moving accidentally individually. So you're going to go ahead and highlight it, and you're going to get that size down to the size you would like. For this particular size tumbler, I did 3.5 by 3.5. Now we're going to go ahead and come through and apply our other text that we want to go over top in the middle there. We're going to go ahead and type out our word. We're going to go ahead and apply an offset around our word using the same distance, so 0.056 is what I used. Then we're going to go ahead and highlight everything together, get it sized down so that way it fits in the middle but doesn't overlap over the wording too much, so you can still read it. And there we go, you made your fancy quote. You did this all on your own. I knew you could do it. So now I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the thinner portions in basic white vinyl, and then the offsets I'm gonna go ahead and cut out in an orange beige opal vinyl. My tumbler is all cured and we're ready to apply our decals. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my lid on first, because I'm gonna do my quote first, and my lid's gonna help me tell me where to put my quote. So I know where the front and the back is, and it's gonna help line it up as well. So for this, I just took it and I swiveled it around to the area where I want my quote. And again, that's gonna help me figure out right where the center is. So I already weeded and stacked my quote here, and you just want to make sure the opal goes on the bottom and the white goes over the top, and it'll almost kind of look like neon lights on the dark base. Now after I got that burnished down, I'm going to go ahead and peel back my transfer tape here, and then we're going to apply the center word. So I didn't stack this word yet. I wanted to do it separate, so I'm going to go ahead and take the bottom offset portion and get that lined up and burnish down on top of my words here. And then carefully apply the white portion right over top. And to make sure my vinyls are stuck down really, really well, I'm just going to apply a little bit of heat to them and press down firmly as I go, making sure that everything is nicely snug down to my tumbler. Now I wanted to add some palm fronds to it and make it look like it was a peekaboo, but not quite a peekaboo. So it's very monochromatic, black on black, but you can still see it. So it still has that illusion that there's something there, you know, like you're standing in the dark and on a tropical place, and you can kind of see these palm fronds kind of peeking through. So I just did up some basic palm fronds. These ones here that I'm putting on right now, I just did about 4 inches in height. And then the banana leaves over there, I only did about 3 inches in height. So that's pretty simple. Now I knew I wanted my leaves to kind of overlap over the quote itself, so you could kind of just barely see it, you know? So again, it just kind of gives that illusion of it possibly being a peekaboo, but it's not quite a peekaboo. So this part is super easy. You're just going to lay down your palm fronds and your banana leaves to however many you want to do. You could fill it up completely. You could just do a few here and there. It's completely up to you. But because I taped off the top and the bottom, I just have to make sure that anything that overlaps over the portions that I'm not going to be epoxying, that I cut away so that way it doesn't drape over and not be able to be covered. So I pretty much just filled a 12 by 12 sheet of black vinyl with the palm fronds and banana leaves. So that's all I did. And I used almost everything. Like here, I just cut some of the frond leaves off so that way I didn't have to cut anything off the tumbler itself, and laid it over the top of my quote there so that way it kind of has that look to it. But as you can see here, you can kind of see where it looks like it's just stark black with the black vinyl and then the glitter around it. So it gives it that illusion that something's there. Now, once you have that all filled up with how many leaves you'd like to do, you're going to go ahead and give it its final coats of epoxy. This is it. So you want to make sure you tape off the top and the bottom. If you did that, you want to make sure that you go ahead and epoxy it till it's nice and smooth, because this is pretty much done. Now, I want to glitter the bottom, so I'm going to be doing that here in a second. But if you didn't do that, or if you just completely glittered all the way around, then this portion is done for you. I am also going to show you guys how to attach the handle back on at the end. So I'm just going to let that cure, and then I'll move on to the next step. So the first thing I'm going to do to the inside of the bottom here, the inside of that circle, is I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a rough sanding, just using the same sanding block I did on the main base earlier. Then I'll go ahead and take my rubbing alcohol and wipe off any debris that might be on there. Now, to coordinate with the color glitter that I'm going to be using, it's going to match the kind of orange beige opal vinyl that I did for my offset on my quote there. I'm going to go ahead and paint the bottom with that pink acrylic paint. This took me about, because it's such a dark paint, this took me about, I want to say, 4 coats of this pink. So what I did was I applied a coat of pink, I hit it up with my blow dryer, dried it up really good, and then went on from there until it was nicely filled in with the color. And there we go. It is nice and saturated with my color there, so that way you can't see the black through it. And I'm just going to show you that glitter that I'm going to be using. See, I thought it matched pretty well with that opal vinyl that I used. So to apply my glitter, I'm going to go ahead and use UV resin. I'm just using Resin Rocker's UV resin. I've really enjoyed using this so far. I think I'm going to go ahead and buy a bigger bottle of this. I just got the trial size just to make sure I liked it, and I do. So now I need to buy a bigger one. So I'm just showing you here that all I needed was about 2.5 milliliters of epoxy in my little cup. So I'm just going to fill that up to the 2.5 part, because I wanted to apply a quote to the bottom of my tumbler. So if you didn't want a quote to the bottom of your tumbler, you could put in a little bit more. You could go up 1 more line, so that way it was a little bit fuller. But I wanted to apply some vinyl to the bottom, so 2.5 was good enough. So that way I still had room to apply the vinyl and put another coating over top, and it didn't go up over top of the bottom of my rim. So as you see, I went ahead and put my glitter into my UV resin, and I'm just going to stir that up really good. I'm going to go ahead and pour all of that UV resin right into the center of the bottom there. And to disperse it evenly, I'm just going to take it and roll that UV resin completely around, making sure that it goes all the way up to my edge. And this is what it should look like on the side view. You still have plenty of room to work on the inside there. Before I cure it with my UV light, I'm going to go ahead and hit it up with my torch, getting any of those little micro bubbles that might be in there. And I'm going to go ahead and set my UV flashlight on it for a little bit, and then I'm going to let it continue to cure out in the sun. So to finish off the quote from the top, Summer Nights, I'm going to apply the quote, "It's a vibe," on the very bottom. If you didn't want to put this quote on the bottom because you like to put your personalization down there, you can put it on the bottom, underneath the quote at the top, or however you want to do it. But I went ahead and used the same font that I used for the word nights, and I just typed up "It's a vibe," and I'm going to reverse weed my quote here because it's a very fine lettering. So I'm just weeding it, but off the tumbler here. So after I weeded that, I'm going to go ahead and apply some palm fronds to it as well. And I forgot to get it on screen so you guys could see it better, but I just cut some palm fronds that I still had left over. I had 2 left over, and I just cut a few of those fronds off and placed it around the quote on the bottom. And then after I did that, I went ahead and put another coating of UV resin over top. I just used another 2.5 and did the same thing where I put it in the center and swiveled around and hit it up really good with my light. The reason why I'm not showing it here is because I accidentally pressed the wrong button. I thought I was press play, but I pressed stop. And this was me recording because that was after I pressed play when I thought I was pressing stop. So you just want to coat it again with your UV resin. That's all you want to do. Then after that's all said and done, you're going to go ahead and put your handle back on. So I just placed the handle right over the hole. I'm going to go ahead and put the screw back into the hole, and then I'm going to make sure that I tighten down that screw really well. You don't want to tighten it down to the point that you could mess up the threads. You just want to get it cranked down at least tight enough to know that it's not going to go anywhere. And if you wanted to, you could even put some glue down as well, some E6000 or a little bit of epoxy just to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. You're going to go ahead and get the cover put back over the handle. And I just slide that top portion right into the top, and then the rest of it should all click right back into place. And after you have that all done, she is ready to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.